Hello, everybody. Welcome in. This is 52/1995 Music, your live music conversation podcast, diving deep into the music of 1995. This is our first expansion of the 52 universe, if you did not know, from our parent podcast, 52/1995 Movies. I'm your host, Alyssa, and of course, I am joined, as always, by my co host, Cody. Cody, how are you today?
Doing great. It's a,
Love to hear it.
it's a 90s country day. It's always a good day.
It is. If y'all are tuning in for the first time here, I say I'm glad to have you here. But it is the start of a new month, which means it's the start of a new genre or a new theme. And each week we're going to be discussing important albums from the year 1995. We're going to dive deep into the releases. We're going to discuss them in detail. And like I said, it is a new month. This month's theme is country music. Figured country music's got a lot of love songs, especially 90s country music. So I figured kind of a good idea to have that in February. So here we are. This today's album is All I Want by Tim McGraw. So before we jump into it, before we get into the details, Cody, what is your experience with this album? Maybe even a little bit of like what's your experience with country music, 90s country music, or just Tim McGraw in general? What are your thoughts here before we dive in?
Well, I said it. We talked about it recently when you were talking about my dating profile. You asked what there was a thing on there that was like, "What's my love language?" And I put 90s country and 2000s pop punk and emo and all that stuff. So 90s country is my jam. I love it so very much. So this entire month is amazing for me because I love all of these things, whether it's Tim McGraw or George Strait or Reba or Shania Twain or John Michael Montgomery or many more. I know I'm blanking on a bunch of people, but so much about 90s country is how I grew. Like, this was the most popular music. This is what my family would listen. My mom and dad would listen to on their radio station. And they still listen to country music to this day. Um, but yeah, no, this is good. This is my life. Like, this is my childhood. I know
Yeah.
I keep coming back to like my oldest sister being the one that influenced a lot of my music, but this is, I know she listened to a lot of country music too, but this one is more of my whole family was listening to this kind of music. And with this album in particular, again, it's one of those weird things where I didn't really listen to full albums, and couldn't tell you what was on this specific album outside of one song. But then as I listened to it, I was like, oh yeah, that was on the radio. That was on the radio.
Mhm.
That was on the radio. And I ended up liking this a lot more than I anticipated I was going to like this whole album. Not that it's without its, faults and songs that I wasn't like as particularly interested in. I don't think there's any songs out of the or I think there's like one song that I don't really love, but other
Mhm.
than that, I think the rest of it is kind of either middle of the road or a bop. So
Yes.
that's my experience with it. And yeah, so Tim McGraw, I think he had two albums before this. I think this is his third one.
Yes.
And I think I just conflated them all into one album. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, they're all on this great album, and that's not
Mhm.
true at all. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my experience with this. You?
I love it. Yeah, my family, I've always said I didn't really discover the radio until I was like 13. But my parents loved country music. And then like my dad also really liked uh hair band rock and roll and my dad really likes all kinds of music. He's even a fan of, 2000s pop punk. But my mom loved country music as I was growing up. And I very distinctly remember Shania Twain's second album being on repeat in our car. We had CDs, and cassettes, but we didn't really listen to radio. So if I ever heard a song, it was probably on some type of a mix that my dad made. My dad always made like mix CDs, mix cassettes, or it was like a greatest hits album, or it's like, oh, top 50 country songs, and they'd be in like a stack this thick of CDs. Um, so that was kind of my experience with it. But I also have like a very distinct memory of in my baby book, like my mom had a baby book for me as a
Hmm.
child. And in the beginning, like in the first couple pages, it's like, oh, what's going on in the world? Like who's the president? Like, when your baby's born and all this stuff. And she writes, and then one of the questions is what's popular right now? What music is popular right now? She's like, country music. And I'm like, I wonder if it really was that popular. And at least again, we both grew up in the Midwest, kind of in more rural as opposed to city towns.
Hmm.
I'm more suburbia, but certainly country music was very, very, very popular in that area. But I'm like, was country music really popular in 91, 92, 93, 95? And I think it was. It's just, depending on who you're talking to. At least for my family, country music was also very popular.
Yeah, I would say that country music, especially the '90s, like these are the most popular artists in the world at that time, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about it later this month when we get to who the god of all of this is during this time. But
Mhm.
all these other guys that are coming around, or women, like Shania Twain or Reba or Faith, like are just as popular. Yeah, CMT stayed on in my house. That's
Mhm.
uh, 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 yeah, I went to my grandpa's all the time, and like I said, whenever I was going to my grandpa's, I was always trying to watch, or maybe it wasn't on this, but I was always trying to watch Nickelodeon or Disney Channel or whatever. But CMT was always on at his house, or it was Bonanza. So,
Mhm.
or Andy Griffith or something like that. But CMT was a popular one. And again, this is the time of music videos too. The
Mhm.
'90s as a whole is the time of music videos, and so things like MTV and CMT were where you got that, like, the frame of mind about what these songs are about. A couple weeks ago, you and I watched a bunch of '90s country music videos, like
Mhm.
Watermelon Crawl,
We're
and
gonna
found
I
and
gotta
but
talk about him later.
that was it. Like, those were awesome music videos, and
Yeah.
you go back now and you're like, maybe they weren't as awesome. But like, there's so much nostalgia. Like, I think about Alan Jackson water skiing in his ripped up light washed blue jeans. Like,
Doing his little shoulder shimmy when
oh
he
my
plays his
gosh,
guitar.
I love it. I love it so much. And I think the '90s are also going through a unique uh, transition, which I did not
Yeah.
realize was the transition of
Mhm.
this traditional country style from the '80s and like the first half of the '90s into a more pop, um,
Mhm.
country music, and that also leads to pop country of the 2000s and
Yes.
kind
And
of
to
where
what
we're
we
at
see today.
now. And I'm like,
Mhm.
there was like this sweet spot in the middle of the '90s that
Mhm.
just had everything that I wanted. Like, it wasn't too poppy, but it wasn't like too
Mhm.
traditional, and it was just a perfect mashup. And now I barely listen to country music. Uh, so.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, like, and you talk about the transition, and we'll talk about, the god of all country music of the 90s, Garth Brooks, at the end of this month. But he is really the cornerstone of the transition,
Mhm.
going from this traditional, stand in one place, George Strait, wear your blue jeans, play guitar, don't move, and sing your song, to being a performer. John Michael Montgomery is another one who kind of follows in Garth Brooks' steps. Tim McGraw transitions late. This is, and we'll talk about this, but this is what we consider his last true country album before, or neo, I think it's like neo-classical country album, whatever they called it, before
Yeah,
transitioning into pop,
neo traditional is what I saw, and
neo-traditional.
I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing.
Me neither. So, but I knew about the transition. I've actually watched I think it was a TV special. I don't know if it was on like MTV or it was a documentary or like something like that. If I streamed it, about this particular pendulum of country music, how it goes back and forth between country pop and what they would call rebel country or outlaw country.
Mhm.
And interestingly enough, we are in the midst of heading back towards an outlaw country in 2025 with the rise of artists like Tyler Childers, Zach Bryan, people who are kind of taking out the even Noah Kahan's not a country singer, he's a folk singer, but with the
Mhm.
rise of artists like that, we are seeing the swing away from the pop country, and it's happened before and it'll happen again, like Willie Nelson, and it just kind of goes back and forth. So this is one of those pendulum swings, and it is at its peak in 1995.
Yeah.
So
Trying to
I'm
think of some of those
excited.
other guys that, and I do like some of that stuff that's coming out. And then you've also got those other newer artists that are like on the blues side of it, like that bluesy country rock. Like Teddy
Well,
Swims is a great example of like
mhm,
that
yeah.
really kind of country voice, but it's with like blues and
Well, we can't talk about country music without talking about my favorite country artist, Mason Ramsey.
oh my gosh.
I love him. If you for our folks out there, if you do not know who Mason Ramsey is, he is the yodeling Walmart kid from the 2017 meme. And that child is now still a child. He's like 16 years old now, but he is still putting out music. He's putting out country music that almost sounds like Elvis. And like he's got a song Blue Over You, and it is genuinely very good. I am a fan. I genuinely am a fan. I think he's unique. He's still a kid. He's still trying, and like he's put out some songs that you're like, okay, it falls into this like poppy country thing. But this new, like him becoming an adult, and I feel like getting to pick the songs he wants to sing, and he's really kind of leaning into this Elvis vibe, and I'm very much enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he started out doing like Hank Williams style stuff,
Yeah.
and then I guess he's making his own little transition to
Yeah.
the next genre, which is that
Yeah.
Elvis genre. So
Yeah, and I see in the chat too, you got Beyonce as well. Beyonce, I didn't even mention the Grammys. I kind of wanted to chat about that maybe towards the end of our chat today. After we talk about our album, we'll talk about the Grammys this past Sunday. But Beyonce just won her first album of the year. She's been nominated multiple times, but first album of the year win for Cowboy Carter, taking a swing away from uh, what she's traditionally done. There's a lot of people who have speculations or guesses as to why she is doing these different types of albums, different genres of albums. But yeah, it came away with a win, and I think that's kind of a I don't want to say a sign of the times, but I do think it kind of speaks to what's popular right now and this idea of
mhm.
genre bending, and anybody can make any kind of album. Um, and kind of stretch their vocals and stretch their what they're used to a little bit.
Yeah, and like I love the direction. I mean, I guess I love the direction that music is going, and I think that's really cool. That music can be so many of these subgenres that didn't used to
Mhm.
exist anymore. We never would put people in like a subgenre.
Mhm.
But the fact that Beyonce has a place in country um, is refreshing. Now it's not everybody's cup of tea,
Mhm.
um, but but it brings back it might bring ears to country music that weren't
Yeah.
traditionally there because everybody's tired of the country music that is there, and that's
Yeah.
honestly like
Well,
I'm not
it's
even a Beyonce fan, and I think Cowboy Carter's a good album.
it is a
uh,
good album. Well, like it's two dudes have dominated the country music space for honestly since like 2010, and it is Sam Hunt and the troll looking guy from Florida Georgia Line. There's two guys in Florida Georgia Line. The one who looks kind of like a troll doll. That's the one. But they write songs for everybody. Every single popular country song, including Mason Ramsey, every single popular country song is written by one of those two guys. And they have their own music careers that they're not really putting out their own music anymore. They just write for all these other people. So they have dominated everything. And I think, like you said, people are ready for a change in this space. And I see Rascal Flats in the chat. I love that. I love them. And what was I going to say? Oh, Sabrina Carpenter. You and I have talked a lot about Sabrina Carpenter, and again, talk about the Grammys, won Best Pop Vocal Album this year. Kind of was an upset, but I'm here for it. I think it was an awesome album. I'm like that's one that I listened to the whole way through. It was fantastic. Today, she announced that she is releasing a deluxe version of her album with like I believe 4 brand new songs on it, including one that features Dolly Parton. So and we've talked about how sometimes when Sabrina Carpenter, a pop singer, she has a song called Slim Pickens that I'm like, this is a Dolly Parton song. Dolly Parton can slide it. Now this is a completely separate song that Dolly is part of. So she's not featured on any of the original tracks from Short and Sweet. But I'm like, yeah, that fits. And say a pop singer really collaborating with a country singer.
Yeah, and I love that Sabrina Carpenter song. That's probably my favorite song on that album. I'm a big fan of that album as a whole. I think it's a really good album. But yeah, when she sings, she sounds like a country singer. Even Chappell Roan, who's another very popular artist right now, has country roots in her. Like, and some of the songs that she have those country roots. And the lines are being blurred about what is country music. And like I said, so many subgenres that you don't have to subscribe to say I am a country artist. I can have a country song on my album, or if I am a country artist, I can have a pop song on my album, or a rap song, or whatever else out there. And it's kind of nice to have that. Billy,
Yeah,
Billy is put in the chat. Has she put out a country song yet?
no, I don't think that's really Billy's. Billy's leaning more into like rap, honestly. She's not. She's still using her vocals, but like I think about her feature on the Charlie XCX album, and I'm like, that's almost like a rap feature. Like
Yeah.
she's kind of leaning the other way, which we'll see. We'll see what she does in the next couple of years. She's still super young in her career and has an incredible voice. She could if she wanted to.
Yeah.
I was thinking, Lil Nas X also came to mind, where I mean, very unashamedly, as has admitted later, come onto the scene with a trope, with a gag in a way to kind of get himself popular with Old Town Road, pairing up with Billy Ray Cyrus, as well as some just by making it like a rap country song and having it be blown out of the water in terms of popularity, just so he can kind of sneak into the space. And again, another artist that I think is very, very talented. If you listen to his whole Montero, that whole album, the whole way through, is actually quite sad, but
Okay.
also very good, if we think about it in the pop space.
Yeah.
It's a little different. But I really liked that album.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to agree with you that anybody can kind of bend their genre, can kind of take their roots from a bunch of different places and make really cool music that everybody likes, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. I think that Shabuzi song is a good example of like of a true cross genre one, because I do feel like I know a lot of people that liked that song, and maybe it's millennials, elder millennials, Gen Xers that like that because of it taking a
Tipsy.
song, taking the Tipsy song and making that a country song, and it actually being a really good country song. It sounds great. So I'd be interested to see if Shabuzi. I don't know what the rest of his music sounds like, or
Yeah.
anything, or if he's pulling a Lil Nas X and like he's gonna try a career outside of that. But yeah, that's kind of what we're going with country. But I mean, we've strayed a little bit far from our original topic.
That's okay. That's why we're here. We're here to talk about music, and music is, vast in what it is that it means. So, but you're right. Let's get into our album of the day. We can get back to our original topic, which is Tim McGraw. So the album of the day is All I Want by Tim McGraw. It was released on September 19th, 1995. It is 12 songs long and only a short 42 minutes. So very quick album, very short, especially compared to, this actually is our shortest album of the year thus far, comparatively to the last four that we were listening to from our Ladies Month. I have a little bit of info about Tim McGraw as a general statement before I get into information about the album itself, because he is such a household name. I just kind of want to throw out there what this man has done in his career, because I think it's too. I mean, obviously, Jewel has a place, and Alanis Morissette. They all have kind of places in like, where are they now? This man is still putting out music very actively, still touring actively, has had quite the 30-year plus career in music. So overall, Tim McGraw has released 16 studio albums. 10 of those albums have reached #1 on the top country albums charts. In total, Tim McGraw's albums have produced 65 singles, 25 of which have reached #1 on the Hot Country songs. He also has won 3 Grammys, 14 Academy of Country Music Awards, 11 Country Music Association Awards, 10 American Music Awards, and 3 People's Choice Awards. He has sold more than 80 million records worldwide, making him one of the best-selling music artists of all time. So not just country music, one of the best-selling music artists of all time. So this man has done a lot. And I wanted to preface all of like the talking about this album by saying all that, because this album, I found nothing. When it came to information about the inspiration or the thoughts behind the album, all I know is that this is this man's 3rd studio album. I Like It, I Love It is on it, and that's a huge hit, and it's like for generations to come. But it kind of, in terms of the grand scheme of what Tim McGraw has done, flies under the radar of his career. They're like, yep, that's the 3rd album. Like, this is not people's favorite album. This is not, as I see in the chat, someone says 97 album was better. The ones that kept coming up in the research was 97, 98, and I think 2003, which is like Live Like You're Dying, which is the big one. That the 2003 album, I believe, is his most popular, the one he's won the Grammys for.
I think, and I would disagree, and I'd say 94 was his best album. I think it's
94 was a big one too. Yeah.
That's got Don't Take the Girl, Down on the Farm, Indian Outlaw. That's the banger.
And that honestly was the one that I thought this album was. I was so excited. Not that this is a bad one by any means, but
but that's the thing. He has so much that, like we said, I mean, he had multiple hits off this album, but I Like It, I Love It is really the big one. And beyond that, it's just kind of like, this is another one of his. Like, and like, again, people hold this, like this music and this person near and dear to their heart. But this is kind of just one of the albums. This is not the most popular. This is it's not a debut. It's not I don't really think it won any awards. It did chart. This album debuted #1 on the country charts and sold over 2 million copies in the United States, reached top 5 in the Billboard 200. And the first single, I Like It, I Love It, did become his 3rd #1 in the American country charts, peaked 25 on the Billboard Top 100. So again, like it's a great album. It's fantastic. It's awesome. It is not his most popular. I could not find research on it just because people are like, we like this one better, we like that one better. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. So I kind of like that we are digging into this one because it's just not on a lot of people's radars.
I don't know if you found this interesting, but whenever I looked at the songs or the track list, and I don't know this about maybe his other first 2 albums or not, but he didn't write any of these songs.
No, he did not.
Which I think is so interesting. We just did a month of like all these women in, pop music and that genre, whatever mixed genre that is there. And like all of them are songwriters. And I think Joan Osborne was the one that had like other writers in hers, and everything else was written by those artists. So
yeah,
I just found that interesting that he's just a studio country guy. And
I also think that kind of speaks to the transition of country music, that it is becoming a performance. It is becoming people like the Rhinestone Romeo, right? The dude who wears fringe and dances in circles on stage and has a fancy cowboy hat and doesn't have dirt on his pressed jeans. And this is not a snub on anybody. It's just that's what the vibe was, is that people were excited about having this really fun, funny, clean cut kind of country star rather than some dude who's baling hay.
Yeah.
And then again, the pendulum swings back, right? We go back and forth with who we're looking at. Like I said, today, moving away from the country pop or the country rap, even Tyler Childers is like really dominating. We're going to go see him in October. That's a sold out show in Cincinnati. People in Cincinnati really love him, it sounds like. But he just stands there. He wears a flannel shirt. He stands up in front of everybody, sings his songs, doesn't play, writes them all, it's more simple. And again, it's just a back and forth.
And that's not to fault anybody for not writing their own songs or anything. I just thought that was pretty interesting. Like, I know that 3 out of the 4 were debut albums for those people. I think were debut albums, I guess, or
Mhm.
all of them were. It's just interesting. I wonder if his first album he wrote more of or not, or if he wrote any at all. If they were like, man, you got a great voice and a great look to you, but you can't write for anything, so we're gonna take over from here. And
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he's a great singer. Like you can't win it all, you know.
yeah, that's okay. Maybe
I
those
do
guys just don't write.
maybe. I do have a couple fun facts about the album.
Give it to me.
So, Faith Hill was his opening act while he was touring the All I Want album. And as we all know, that is his current wife. They have three beautiful children together. She was actually engaged to her producer. She had to break off her engagement so they could start dating. They got married a year later, and they're happily ever after. So I just didn't know how they met. So she was his opening act while he was touring this particular album. So that's kind of a fun legacy with All I Want.
Slay.
Um, Slay. We said the thing. This is Tim's last album to have a neo-traditional country sound before developing more of the crossover friendly country pop. This album was certified triple platinum. So, like I said, it's not that people didn't like the album. It's a very popular album. It's just not the most popular.
Mm-hmm.
And the song I Like It, I Love It has eventually become, this is just a random fun fact, it is the goal song for the Nashville Predators. So once they began their inaugural season, that's whenever they score a goal, that is the song that plays. And that has been left unchanged since. So I believe their inaugural season was in 97. And every time they score a goal, they play I Like It, I Love It. And they just won't change that. And I'm like, I love sports and their superstitions. So just a couple fun facts.
That's cool. We've got some hockey fans out there, some Nashville Preds fans out there, I think.
Excellent. They play it constantly. We gotta go. We gotta go to a game and just
We
start
do.
singing. I love it. Well, do you want to break down the songs?
Sure, yeah.
Which ones stuck out to you?
All right. Do you want me to just go ahead and list them? The ones
Yeah,
that I
because
really like?
honestly, I wrote a lot of notes for a lot of songs, so we can pick and choose. So whatever it is that you want to focus on.
Well, now I got to find my notes. There they are. Yeah, so honestly, the first half of this album was better than the last half of this album. So all of my songs, besides I Like It, I Love It, I picked the first four. The first four songs. So All I Want Is a Life, She Never Lets It Go to Her Heart, Can't Be Really Gone, and Maybe We Should Just Sleep on It. Those are my favorite. Those are the songs that I chose, and I Like It, I Love It. So
And I Like It, I Love It. Okay, sounds good. I fully agree with you. The back half of anything after I Like It, I Love It to me is like fine. Except the last one. I do like That's Just Me. But the front half of this album is very strong. Did you notice, and this maybe is just me putting puzzle pieces together that don't exist, that this album kind of goes in order of a life?
Yeah, it is so interesting because they're two of my favorite songs. She Never Lets It Go, or not that, Can't Be Really Gone, and Maybe We Should Sleep on It are like
back to
back breakup songs, and I was just like, oh, she's left you, and then in the next song she's getting her stuff and moving out.
Yeah,
and
that's
like,
I say.
this is interesting. And
Yeah,
then
he's
it gets to the middle of the album where he's kind of like a bad dude, and I was like, I don't like that.
Well, and also even Can't Really Be Gone. It's like she left all her shit. She went to a hotel, or she went to her mom's house, and then she can't really be gone. He's grappling with that. Maybe We Should Just Sleep on It. She comes back, she's moving out her stuff. The song after that is I Didn't Ask and She Didn't Say, which is running into an ex-lover at the airport and catching up. And I'm like, is it her? Like, let's go. And then the next one's Renegade, which is like, he meets a new girl and he's like, I'm a badass lady. Like, you don't want to hang out with me. And I'm like, you've been a softie for the last 5 songs. Okay. But it genuinely falls into some kind of I'm in a relationship, we're in a breakup, I get into a new relationship, we have a breakup. Like there's a consistency that I that's why I love listening to an album in full, because I really do think this was intentional. Like maybe it's not his exact life, or it's not like, true to what has been going on with him. It's not, chronological, but when you listen to it, it's chronological.
Well, then you get to the end of the album with like when she wakes up and finds me gone. I was like, she just did the same thing, bro.
I know. I was like, why are you leaving? It doesn't sound like you want to. Anyway, let's talk about All I Want Is a Life, because this is the title song of the album. It's the first song of the album. Excellent introduction to what the album is, who he is, what he's about. I love it. I love the content. I love the beat. I love the sound. I'm like, I'm in. I'm hooked immediately.
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, this isn't a unique song for this genre. It is,
Right.
We see it even with the bad country song that I listen to all the time. The message is the same, is like, I'm broke. I don't make a lot of money. I want better, but I just want to live, and that's all that matters to me. I got my truck and I got all this stuff. Like it is, this is a very, country music is very formulaic in that sense. Like we're not
Yes.
going to see a lot of poetry in these songs. Not that they can't be good, but their stories and their observations. It's just like, nope, this is how I live my life. And
Yeah.
that's all I want.
And it's evergreen. Like it's like everybody wants to make more money.
Mhm.
Regardless of what genre of music you listen to, everyone would love to have a little bit more. Everyone would love to be comfortable, and all I want is a life where I drink from a cup where the well's not dry. And I'm out tired of the crumbs. I want a piece of the pie, and it's like, yeah, this is something that anyone can relate to, whether it's 1995 or 2025.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the nice thing about country music, is that it is relatable. It is very, like, I can listen to gangster rap all day long, and I'll love gangster rap, but I have never experienced anything that those people have experienced. But I can relate to this one.
Yeah, and the thing about these kind of songs are, like, you see a Tim McGraw, you see an Alan Jackson, you see a George Strait, you see these guys singing this song. Yes, these people are wildly successful. Yes, they are rich beyond their wildest dreams, and like maybe but you feel like they actually started like this and
Mhm.
mean the words that they say. When I see a Jason Aldean or I don't even know, Luke Bryan or somebody
Mhm.
talking about farming and trucks and working a dead end job and all this stuff, it's not believable. And it's pandering. And Bo Burnham has a great song just about
Called
country music
pandering.
called Pandering. And it feels different when in the mid 90s than it does, now. So
Right. It doesn't feel like a front. It's whatever, what you see is what you get. Yes, of course, these people are rich beyond my wildest dreams, but yeah, there's a believability about it, that they came from it, rather than, I wouldn't call, like, I wouldn't say industry plant, right? Um, and there's personality behind it. I think Brad Paisley kind of falls into this as well. I always kind of believed Brad Paisley. I don't know why. Um, but and but yeah, the folks now, and I'm like, you've never Sam Hunt. I'm just like, sir, you've
yeah.
never been, which I don't think he really sings about baling hay. He mostly just sings about women who have broken up with him.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Morgan Wallen. It's just a lot of breakups, not a lot of hay, and also trucks that haul nothing. But it's, yeah, you believe him. And also, side note, I love the long country outro.
Oh yeah, that's the thing about this,
I
like
miss it.
this neo-traditional, and I feel you just mentioned Brad Paisley. I feel like Brad Paisley and Keith Urban kind of hold on to that part of this style of
Mhm.
country, where you get a lot of electric guitar, you get a lot of like those long solos and outros and stuff like that. Yeah, like
Yeah,
I really do
it's
dig it.
nostalgic. I'm like, the song ended 30 seconds ago and we're still going, and
Hmm.
I'm here for it. Like, certainly not today, with streaming being the mode of the media, the mode of media that we listen to things through, and artists are paid by the amount of streams. That means the shorter the song, the more streams you can get in a certain
Yeah.
amount of time, and it's better for you financially. So a lot of people cut that, and so that just doesn't exist in songs as much anymore. So when you get it, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. This is what we used to do. We used to repeat the chorus after the bridge.
And these songs are very repetitive.
Yeah, but they're not long.
No.
And it's I'm like, I'm okay with it, right? Because I'm like, if you're gonna be repetitive, keep it under 3 minutes. Anything else about this one? I really liked this one.
No, I think this is. I think the only thing I say about this is a quintessential like '90s country song. You hear it. This is Boot Scootin' Boogie. This is gosh, I had another one on the tip of my tongue. Like these ones that are just talking about working all day and not, just trying to make a living. That's it. So
I love it.
Yeah. This is the most traditional, I think.
Yes. I will add as well. I like the bookends of All I Want is a Life, and That's Just Me. These are two country ass songs. Two like, because That's Just Me is like, I grew up by the book in the South, and I got a backwoods wife, and I'm like, yeah, you do. No, he doesn't. He's not married at this point, and his wife is Faith Hill, one of the most beautiful put together women on the face of the planet. I'm like, sir, like your wife is not barefoot walking around in the.
She might have been.
Maybe
Faith Hill of the '90s. You never know.
Faith Hill singing This Kiss, I don't think so. but like I like that they're the bookends. We're starting country, we're ending country. We're starting and ending with a similar vibe song. We got a lot of love and loss and breakup in the middle, but we're bookending this album with two country hits.
A lot of sadness and breakup. You're right.
That's how one of my favorite Rascal Flatts songs is called Backwards.
I love that song.
I said, it talks about what happens when you play a country song backwards. You get your house back, your car back, your dog comes back, you get your girlfriend back.
I never hear any songs like I want to know who's taking the dog songs of country music. Those are the ones I want to hear because that's always been the joke. But I never hear those songs where they're taking the dog.
Yeah, I guess I can't think of one off the top of my head. Now I got to find one.
That's your job.
That's my job. I'll bring that back next week. I'll let you know what I've heard.
Thank you.
What about She Never Lets It Get to Her Heart?
This was also one that I feel like this one played on the radio next most out of this album. No, I love this song. It shows it talks about like him having a partner that no matter what, all these guys are staring at her and they're hitting on her and calling her, the days of telephone and calling them. But she always comes right back to me. I'm not going to take advantage, or I'm not going to, overthink this. And
I'm not a jealous man.
I'm not a jealous man. I don't have to anything to worry about in two songs. We're good.
In two songs. I do love it's like the play on words. She can turn every head, but she never lets it go to her heart, because the phrase is doesn't let it go to her head.
Yeah.
But I was like, I love that. I love that play. It's clever. I feel like that's something that we see a lot. And I think it's interesting to see it that, when you said what your favorite genres of music are, 90s country and 2000s pop punk emo, both of them are very clever in their lyrics. They tend to not take themselves too seriously. They put jokes in their lyrics in a way that packs a punch. Even if it's just a little pun or a twist of the words like this. This is a very subtle version of that, but I always like to see that. I'm like, oh, how cute.
That's it. That's all I have about this song.
Yeah, me too. It was a quick song. It's pretty quick.
All of these songs are quick. Very short album.
Yes, I get 42 minutes for 12 songs. We are flying.
Love it.
Here for it. What about? Wait, which was the next one? She Can't Really Be Gone.
Yes, I think this. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I like it. I love it. Is the best song on this album, hands down. Obviously for reasons. This. Other than that, take that out of the equation. This is my second favorite song on the album. I have a first favorite on the album, but this is my second favorite one on the album.
Okay. Yeah, this is a good song.
Hmm.
Like, you know exactly how he feels. You can put yourself in his shoes. He is down bad,
I
and it's just walking around your house looking at all of the tiny little memories of or things that she left behind. I'm like, damn, this is good.
I love that imagery too, where exactly what you just said, where he is walking around, he's looking around his house, and he sees her shoes, her hat, the book she's reading, and he's like, "Well, surely she's not going to leave that stuff. Like
Yeah,
that's too
sure.
important to her."
Yeah.
And so she's not gone. She's not gone. It's that denial phase
Hmm.
of grief that he's going through, and I love each one of these little verses in here, and that's where I get my favorite lyrics are from this album or from this
Hmm.
song. So
Yeah, the specifically when he talks about the unfinished book.
mhm.
That is, I mean, that's double entendre. That's she left the book unfinished. She's on chapter 21. Who could leave in chapter 21? And in the same way that he's like, I feel like our relationship has something that's unfinished. How can you leave when the plot's just getting good? Like, how could like, and that's so that double there is, I really love that.
And I think that again, more with imagery, like specifically, she's using a card as her bookmark in that page, and it's a two of hearts, which
Hmm.
I think is unique to represent them. How could you walk
Hmm.
away?
Two
I think,
hearts.
yeah, two hearts.
Yeah, this essay, all of these songs, like we said, there's not a lot of poetry going on here. They're very simple in their nature, especially compared to last month's where we were getting
Hmm.
really deep into the imagery and stuff.
Oh yeah, a lot of
Um,
religious trauma last month.
a lot of religious trauma for our ladies. A lot of Catholicism happening
Man, Catholics, they took a bad rap last week.
last month, or just in general.
Yeah.
But this is just good. It's good storytelling.
Yeah.
It's very good. Do I have anything? Yeah, I just wrote love the imagery of the unfinished book.
Yeah, that's good.
You also said maybe we should just sleep on it. What'd you have about
Yeah.
that one?
Again, I like this, especially coming right after Can't Be Really Gone, with her returning to the home. The moving truck is there. They're carrying out your stuff. Maybe wait, hold on a second. We should just sleep on this. Let's think
Mhm.
about what we're doing here. That goodbye didn't feel right this time around. So let's just
Mhm.
take a pause, and I've screwed up. I realize, and
Yes.
let's not move that truck. I don't know. I
Yeah.
like this song. I think this song it's that sweet point between being a really slow song, but and not being a slow song at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's um,
You can have you can have a sad or slow content song, but with an uptick in beat and music. And
yeah.
like this, in theory, would be a sad song, but it's way more upbeat than the previous one.
Hmm.
So that kind of helps, I think, push it along.
I love the intro to this song. There's like this guitar part that, da, 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 da. And then I think that's is it. I don't know if it's like you could almost put like a saxophone in this song,
You could.
and it would just be amazing. Like I think this is an '80s song with a saxophone in it. And you know how much I love my saxophone, so
You love a
I
saxophone.
do love a saxophone. So it does. It has that nice little uh,
Mhm.
shift in tempo from our last song, and it
Mhm.
is a
And you
very
need
sad
that.
song. Yeah, you do. You don't want
You
to bog it down by
yeah,
any means.
you need the uptick. Um, I also there's a point where he says like they're taking your clothes and taking my breath away. Like it's like she's his heir, and like they're like just like they're packing up a box, they grab his heir, they keep walking, and I'm like, oh, that's so good. Like that image is so good.
Yeah.
Like you again, everything is you can have a strong image. It's almost like reading a book. You know exactly what's happening in front of you.
This poor man.
This poor man.
He screwed up, bro.
He did something. I'm like, what did you do?
Yeah, seriously.
Or maybe he didn't do anything. Maybe she did let it get to her heart. She said, you know what, that guy over there is cooler than you, and she bounces. I don't know.
Well, that's a bummer.
That's a bummer.
Now I'm sad.
Do
Thanks.
you anything else on that one?
No, not on that one. Just that it's a good companion song to the next one, and then yeah, like you said, it just keeps going with more like companion songs. So
Yes. So then we got to talk about I Like It, I Love It.
oh yeah,
It's
I like it.
so
Go
good.
for it.
I just wrote so good in all caps in my notes, and that's it.
I almost didn't even want to talk about it because I was like, it's, everybody knows this song. I was talking to friend of the pod, Spencer, earlier, and he was like, I can't believe you guys are doing a whole month on country music. And then he went on to say, but I did know the song that you put on the Instagram post, and I was like, yeah, of course you did, because everybody knows this song and everybody loves this song.
I have to admit something. This was the only Tim McGraw song I knew until about 3 days ago.
Really?
That was he
Don't
was
Take
not.
the Girl?
I
Live
might
Like
know
You Were
though.
Dying?
I don't, especially 2003. I wasn't listening to country music, but I'm fairly certain I do not know another. I couldn't name one. I probably have heard them, and because honestly, also for a long time, I thought Tim McGraw and Brad Paisley were the same person as a child. As a child, I was like, that's the same guy. But yeah, this was the one I knew. If you were like, what's a Tim McGraw song? I'm like, I Like It, I Love It.
I'm not upset at all. I hope you don't think that. I hope you don't think that it's like amazing, and that's why I like doing this. And I'm like that you wanted to set out and do this because, oh my gosh, like Tim McGraw's got so many songs, and he's not even like my favorite artist by any means.
Yeah. Well, of course, I know. Again, the Swiftie. I was like, what is the song Tim McGraw about? It's about Live Like You Were Dying. Like, it's not, I was like, is it on this album? No, it's a 2003 song. So I was like, damn, this guy's been around forever.
And it's funny. Like, I like it. I love it. I think it is obviously, I think it's one of his best songs. It's the only song that you knew, but I'm so used to Tim McGraw being much more of a Let's Make Love or It's Your Love that he sings with Faith Hill. And he has these, like, She's My Kind of Rain is another song, like these love songs, these love ballads that he sings. And I think of Tim McGraw in that regard, mostly with his like more, that is who he is as an artist to me. And but I love these other songs. Like, I love the I Like It, I Love It. I love the Indian Outlaws. However, bad that song is now. But yeah, he is like a ballad country singer, I think.
Yes, he's fun. He's fun, and he can kind of do it all. That's the thing. He can do the love songs. He could do the country songs. He could do the breakup songs. He can kind of do a little. And then I was thinking, I was like, oh yeah, this dude did a song with Nelly.
Yes, I forgot.
I remember that song is a banger, and like his voice lends to the song very well. It's technically a Nelly song featuring Tim McGraw, but honestly, Tim McGraw is the one carrying that song. And it's very good. I think she's leaving. Oh yeah, she's leaving. Yeah.
Oh man, now you got to go back. I think you should just listen to Tim McGraw's greatest hits album. No, don't go that far. I wouldn't do that. But like, man, he's got some good ones. I just looked up a greatest hits thing from 2000. I was like, oh man, that one.
I want to listen. I was looking into Faith Hill too, because I'm like, I feel like her career is not as expansive. She kind of stopped around 2005. She put out a Christmas album, but they put out a duet album in 2017. Just the two of them on every track. Didn't know that. I want to listen to it. That sounds fantastic to me because I love Faith Hill.
Yeah. No, and her duets with Tim McGraw are some of their best songs. And they have some before 2000, like
that they put out together. It's Your Love, and I said the other one, and I can't even remember what it is now. But yeah, Let's Make Love. That's the other one. It's Your Love and Let's Make Love at Tim
Lot of
McGraw
love.
Faith Hill. A lot of love going on.
Good for
lot
them.
of love. Yeah.
I do
for
love
them.
them together. I like the fact that they're still together. Like they seem happy. Like I'm good for that. It's always nice to see like celebrity couples like not be awful to each other.
Man, I want to listen to this song so bad now.
We can listen later.
Okay. That's it. That's all I got.
That's kind of it. Those are the biggies. Yeah. I want to hear, what is your favorite song?
My favorite song, other than the one that we've already talked about, and again, I keep taking my notes and throwing them away. My favorite song is Maybe We Should Just Sleep on It.
Really? Okay. That surprises me.
Really? What'd you think?
Well, I like that song, but because you said you're like, it's kind of slow, but there's a little bit of an uptick, just the way you described it earlier. I'm surprised that's one of your favorites.
No, I think that's why I like it so much, is it is a little bit more up tempo and but still sad. And I just love the chorus of that song so much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really like that song. I think, like I said, that's my number one after I Like It, I Love It. And then the one right before it is the next one. So
Can't Really Be Gone.
Can't Really Be Gone. Yeah.
Yeah. I do think Can't Really Be Gone is like, other than I Like It, I Love It, I think Can't Really Be Gone's the best song on the album.
Yeah. I figured that would be yours.
But I Like It, I Love It is my favorite. The second one I put is All I Want Is a Life.
Okay.
I loved that. Because it hooked me so quickly.
Mhm.
And I'm like always really impressed when the first song in an album does that. And I'm like, I've been singing it for the last like 48 hours in my head. And I'm like, where the whale ain't dry. I'm like, yes. I was like, there's something about the notes, like the notes going down on like each part of the chorus. It's like, I want a piece of that pie. And I'm like, yes.
I do want a piece of pie.
It's so fun. And then again, I'm like, yeah, I'm poor too.
Yeah.
It hits everything. It's relatable. It's fun. It's upbeat. It's got a great guitar. It's me, what quintessential country music is.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I like it. I love it for obvious reasons. And then All I Want Is a Life. And Can't Really Be Gone.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. What's your least favorite? I'm sorry. What were we going to ask?
No, I was going to ask you. I was going to help you out a little bit.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Go into that. Yeah. Least favorite, Renegade.
Fair. Renegade was my first pick until I heard When She Wakes Up.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't like how Hardy goes in Renegade. It comes off he comes off like
he comes with like a growl. I'm like, where did that come from?
And the lyrics make it seem like he's a tool. And he says, I go too fast, too far sometimes. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that lyric.
No, and yeah, it was a kitten pretending to be a tiger. I was like, I don't like that. But yeah, I also didn't like When She Wakes Up, because I'm like, why are you leaving? It sounds like you don't want to leave. So can you at least explain to her why? Like, break up with her, like, he says, it's like, I'm not man enough to look her in the face when I dump her. And I'm like, you are a loser, man. Like if that, I mean, again, this man is not writing his own songs. These are not autobiographical. But to me, I was like, I am never looking to listen to that one again.
Yeah. My thing with Renegade is just that it comes off like, oh, I'm a hurt, like, especially after the songs that we just heard, like it comes off as like, I'm hurt. And so I'm never going to settle down, and, I'm not going to hang my hat in any place too long. So I'm just around for a good time, not a long time.
But then the song right after that is I Like It, I Love It. And I'm like, to me, that's like, that song is about like the beginning stages of a relationship where you're like excited, you're going on dates, you're like, oh, I got to make sure my house is clean, that, my shirt looks nice. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens after you get the girl in Renegade, you idiot. So, yeah, I was like, that would have, if When She Wakes Up wasn't on the album, Renegade would have been my pick.
Yeah. So
so we talked about how, poetry is not really happening here. These are pretty simple songs, simple lyrics, but do you have a favorite lyric?
Yeah, and we went over it a little bit, but I said her book is lying on the bed, the Two of Hearts, the marker page. Now, who could ever walk away at chapter 21? So she can't really be gone. I like that. I think that's my favorite.
Great imagery. Mine's actually from a song that we didn't talk about. Is I Didn't Ask and She Didn't Say, which is when after the breakup, after she moves out all her stuff, they run into each other at the airport. At least that's what I'm pretending happens. And I wrote down the lyric because when I heard it, it struck me and I was like, ooh, that's good. And then when I went to write it down, I went, oh, that's not what that means. So maybe it's just, again, me putting puzzle pieces together that don't exist.
Mhm.
So the lyric is, we said our goodbyes, swore we'd stay in touch, then we went our separate ways, knowing no one ever does. And when I first heard that, I thought it was referring to going our separate ways. Like, we go our separate ways, but we're really still being pulled back together. Like we're really still being pulled towards one another. We're never going to really let each other go. But then I looked at it, I was like, oh no, he's referring to staying in touch.
Mhm.
So it's a lot less of my favorite lyric once I had that realization, but I still like it. It's just like, hey, we said goodbye. We didn't get back together. We went our separate ways, knowing no one ever does. So I made it way deeper than it actually was.
That's okay. Tim McGraw needs all the help he can get.
He does. Do you have any music pairings for this album?
Yeah, so I guess I didn't realize that I was putting like more neo-traditional people whenever I was writing this down. So I wrote George Strait as a good pairing for him, especially this album. Clay Walker is another classic 90s country man, I think, who really thrived on the neo-traditional style and didn't kind of make the leap into pop country as much. And then also there is a song by an artist named Gary Allan, who started out as like a Texas country person. If you've ever heard like the genres of Nashville country versus Texas country, Gary Allan was in that Texas country originally and then kind of moved over to Nashville country. But he's got a song called Watching Airplanes that I think is a great companion song to some of the songs on here. So check out Watching Airplanes by Gary Allan. He's got a very unique voice too. That's the thing about Tim McGraw too, is I think he has a good country voice that you could spot. Like you hear a song by Tim McGraw and you're like, oh, that's Tim McGraw. Like, you can only do that with certain ones. That, like, I feel nowadays, if you put some country artist in front of me outside of Luke Bryan, who sounds like Kermit the Frog, singing country music, like I couldn't tell you who they are. It's same thing with like women in country too. Like they have that problem where everybody kind of just sounds the same, and don't have as unique of voices as they used to. So I sound like an old man, shaking his fist at the clouds whenever I talk about new country music, but that's my beef.
No, I do agree. They all especially the men, a lot of them all sound the same when it comes to the pop
they
country.
all look the same too. I'm just like,
they've all just wear a hat and like a trucker hat and a plain t-shirt. And I'm like, I dress up. do something.
Do something. Wear a cowboy hat and a nice Western shirt and put on some lacer boots and I just look good.
Where's the fringe?
Where is the fringe? That's what the thing about lacer boots. They had a little bit of fringe on them. Like, if y'all don't know what lacers look like, you should look them up. That's country. To me, there are some guys out there that are still trying to do this neo-traditional. I don't think they're as hot as some of those ones that we don't like are, but I found them on Spotify and have really enjoyed some of those newer artists. I don't know them off the top of my head. I could find them real easy, but they're out there somewhere.
Yeah, I didn't have too many pairings. The only one I had was Tracy Byrd, and just because it's just some country songs. We're from, like, when I heard That's Just Me, I was like, this is We're From the Country, just in a different font. It's still the traditional style, still the 90s. So I'm like, yep, Tracy Byrd. And I also put Faith Hill because for obvious reasons, that they're singing about each other, or they're together, or like, even just to listen to what songs was she singing on the tour, and when she was his opening act, right? So, or their duet albums, or things like that. So those are my two music pairings. Not too intense, but
No, I like that. I like pairing that with Faith Hill. That's a no-brainer. You're
Mhm.
very good for getting that one.
So are you so go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I was ending on that. You're good.
Okay. So are you recommending this album to a friend?
Of course, I recommend this album to a friend. I recommend any 90s country music to a friend, even if it's Dwight Yoakam. I like Dwight Yoakam. You should listen to some Dwight Yoakam. If it is this Tim McGraw is quintessential 90s classic country. I recommend it just for that, and specifically the front half of the album I think is the best.
I'm asking you this off the cuff. So let's say someone says, "Hey, I want to get into 90s country. Who are like the 5 artists that I really need to dive into?"
Ooh,
Is
5 artists.
Tim McGraw's on that list?
I
Is he
mean,
a 90s country quintessential?
I think Garth Brooks has to be number one on the
Uh-huh.
list because he is 90s country. Man, is it Brooks and Dunn?
That's a
Would
good
be on
one.
there for me. Brooks and Dunn would be on there. I'm trying to think of women. Like I'm trying to give Trisha Yearwood maybe would be in there, or Martina McBride. Oh
Martina
gosh,
McBride,
Martina McBride's a big one.
Shania.
Shania's up there, but see, Shania, I don't know because she is moving towards that more pop country feel or that pop country area. Because I wanted to say Reba, but Reba's almost an artist of the 80s,
80s,
late
yeah.
80s and early 90s. She's got some bangers, but a lot of her great stuff came out in the 80s.
What about Jody,
Jody Messina?
the one who sings Heads Carolina?
Yeah, Jody Messina.
Is she 80s?
No, 90s.
No, she's 90s.
90s.
Yeah,
90s,
there's
90s.
so many good ones. It's hard to pick.
And George Strait is another one that I would like. He's got a lot of good stuff in the 80s and a lot of really good stuff in the 90s too. I would almost put him and Reba in their own little category, but I think Tim McGraw might make my top 5 of like quintessential 90s dudes. Alan Jackson, haven't even mentioned him.
Yeah. Toby?
Ooh, God, see? Now you're just getting to me.
It's hard. It's difficult.
Yeah, and then you got your Tracy Lawrences, your Tracy Birds, your
so many Tracys.
So many Tracys, a popular country name at the time. We didn't even get into groups that much outside of like Joe Diffie's up there. Somebody mentioned Travis Tritt's another great one. Alabama, who also is more of an 80s 80s person or 80s band that's up there. But yeah, there's so many good Vince Gill we saw in concert.
Gill.
John Michael Montgomery, we'll talk about him later. Mark Chestnut, God, so many good songs, and so many good like one hit wonders.
Yeah, that too.
In this time period.
Now I'm thinking about my parents were like huge Vince Gill fans, huge Amy Grant fans. Obviously, they go together. Big Amy Grant household. Also Shania, but.
And then I didn't even name Lone Star or Diamond Rio, which Diamond Rio, dang. If you guys have not listened to Diamond Rio, you need to go out and listen to some good 90s Diamond Rio. Meet in the Middle is probably my favorite song of theirs, but Diamond Rio's got some number one, like some hits out there that are just outstanding. Great group. So
very nice.
I could talk about this for hours if you let me.
Well, thankfully we've got a whole month of you to talk about it with.
That's right. I'll come back with more.
Good. So what's your rating? What's your 5-star rating?
I gave this a 3.5.
Really?
Yeah. Because of I think it is a strong first half of the album. I agree with chat earlier in saying this isn't the strongest Tim McGraw album. Maybe the one before this or maybe the one after this are probably a 4-star album. Just to say that. So 3.5. Yeah. What about you?
I gave it a 4. I honestly, I also gave last week's album a 4, but I liked this album way better
Mhm.
than Relish. So I was like debating, but I'm like, this is an album I'm gonna come back to. This is
Yeah.
I already know, obviously I like it, I love it, but now I've discussed like All I Want Is a Life. Like I'm gonna listen to that song again. That's going on my country playlist.
Nice.
So because I've been able to pull from it and I enjoyed it and I had a lot of fun, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this again. Like this is now again, this is also my only like real experience with Tim McGraw. So maybe the more I listen to him, the lower on my ranking list he would go. But like in terms of the other albums that he's put
Yeah.
out there.
Just put
But
that
yeah,
greatest hits album on there. You'll have a great time.
perfect.
So
But all right. Well, Cody, anything else that you want to add? Anything else to say, to chat about? Any questions, comments, emotional outbursts?
my only emotional outburst is that everybody should make a 90s country playlist that if you're on Spotify, you won't get to hear Garth Brooks. So you'll have to find that elsewhere. He might be on Apple Music to do
Yeah.
that. So I'm jealous of all Apple Music listeners out there that you get to experience all that Garth Brooks goodness. But yeah, just listen to just that's all you should listen to. Don't worry about anything else. It'll make you happy. I promise. That's it.
Yes. Well, thank you, Cody, for being here, for going through our albums together. This is again our 5th album. We got 52 of them total. It's going to be great. I'm excited for the rest of this month. I just want to thank you. As we wrap up, do we have any movie? Goodness, wrong pod. Do we have any music recommendations for this week? I'm gonna be straight up and say I don't. I attempted. I was telling you a couple days ago. I attempted. I was like, oh, you know what I haven't listened to in a while? Discover Weekly on Spotify. My Discover Weekly is garbage. It's songs I know. I'm like, I don't need to discover the mamas and the papas. I already know the song from, the Juno soundtrack. Like everybody knows that song. So literally the first 9 songs were ones I have already known and listened to. So I got to find another playlist or like Release Radar or something. But
it is crazy. Like now that we've started this, I feel like I listen to almost less music than I was.
same, because you have to focus on this. And then it's like, well, if I have time, I'm going to re-listen to the album or, you also aren't in the car often.
That's true. I'm not in the car, but also like sometimes I just like to throw on some music.
It is very
in the
mood-based.
background. But then when I start playing an album, I'm like, oh, I should be listening to the album for next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, let me move it over to that and we'll try that. So no, I haven't listened
That's okay.
to really anything.
That is okay. We don't have to have any recommendations. I've been listening to we started The Bachelor last week, and I have a Bachelor recap podcast. That's what I've been listening to. It's just 2 people making fun of The Bachelor, which is my favorite topic. It's making fun of things. So thank you. So if anyone else has recommendations, anyone else heard good albums, please put those in the chat. We'd love to see them. We take them very seriously. Because it's, I think sharing a music recommendation is like sharing part of yourself. So if you've got one, I'm gonna listen to it. But if you're looking for any more information on our podcast here and just the 52universe in general, you can join our Discord server. We've also got an Instagram account where we post horrific images of me inserted into these album covers. So that's exciting. Next week, stay tuned. We are going to be covering one of my favorite albums. This is the first album that I've actually heard before, and it is The Woman in Me by Shania Twain. Shania Twain's debut album. I am jazzed about next week. But that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time on 52/1995 Music.